order to make sure that you understand the question, it is which of the energy sources should the UK invest the majority of its resources in? And another way of phrasing that, which one of these areas do you think is not being given enough priority at the moment? So it's not the one that's going to be the biggest, it's the one that's not being given enough priority. And I have here a marvelous modern electronic device which is on Twitter, and you can tweet. What's the hashtag?
There is a lot of renewable energy resource around the UK. Of course, people like to talk about wave and tidal resource as well. I would just like to point out that for me, this is not a debate about the need to lower our carbon emissions. So in terms of which of the technologies is going to do that, it's difficult for fossil fuels to do that without some form of carbon capture technology, which actually I am in favour of. The other thing that I would say is there is no perfect technology. So renewable energies, all of the forms have their own drawbacks. All of the other forms of energy generation also have their own drawbacks.
Ladies and gentlemen, today we as a nation stand at a crossroad, and the nuclear industry stands at a crossroad. It has been 60 years now since we first split the atom in the United Kingdom, in Calder Hall, and we've generated the first kilowatt hour of electricity from that. Now we've got two options. We can either turn our back on nuclear electricity and say it's too expensive, it's unsafe, it's unproven, or we can make the opposite decision and say, well, actually, we still haven't unleashed the potential of the atom, we still haven't unleashed and haven't fulfilled the promises of the atom that were promised to us back in the 1950s.
But we can start to use hydrocarbons responsibly in different ways, so we can continue to utilise the fact that they do give us cheap electricity, a real flexible supply, which the other two methods we've heard can't provide us. And as much as people don't think it, we have had a secure supply of fossil fuels for the past decade or so, and that is definitely going to continue into the future.
Can anyone tell me what this is? This is a pellet of uranium fuel. There's 400 milligrams of uranium-235s there. Right between my fingers, I've got 1 ton of coal or 600 litres of petrol, tightly compressed right within my fingers. Or in more prosaic term, in more human term, that's 1 year of electricity for your home, just within those fingers.
In this stage of our country's period from now till 2050, we've got to have a solution to take over that capacity. And I think in this period that we're talking about right now, while fossil fuels are more abundant than they have ever been, it's the time to invest in fossil fuels. I'm not saying fossil fuels are correct for 2100 and beyond, but this period that we're talking about right now, I don't think there's another solution other than fossil fuels to keep the baseload power and the peaks, and when renewables not providing, you need the fossil fuels there to provide. And I think that's the answer to that.
There's another element to that debate though, is that of course, the cost of fossil fuels is not fully internalised. So the cost that we, as globally, are going to incur by adapting and mitigating climate change is not reflected in the fuel costs. It's not reflected in the cost that you pay for your electricity or the petrol that you buy at the pump. So it's not a truly inclusive debate from a cost point of view when we talk about fossil fuels.
In areas where you're building new residential sites, if you're building power plants local to these, or new residential areas should start using like domestic power plants with CHP systems, maybe small generators with CHP systems attached. You can start utilising 80% efficiency with this generation. I totally agree we should be making these more efficient. Obviously in this country we've got still severe amounts of coal to use. Again, matched with CCS, we can start to utilise supercritical boilers and ultra-critical boilers, which are pushing up efficiencies up to about 55%. So again, we can start improving the efficiencies there. But this also matches with, we need to start changing the homes that we live in and the amount of energy we use and the amount of energy we waste. That should be the first point of call before we start building loads more power generation. We need to reduce the amount that we're using and then increase the efficiency of our power plants, so then we only build exactly what we need.
Solar panels can fit on top of my roof and I can see the power being generated. Yes, it might not be very efficient. Yes, we've got clouds here in the UK. But I can see from my smart meter, like you're just saying, I can see if I'm generating power. I can see if I'm putting it back into the grid. I can see if it's heating up my water or anything else in the house. It's directly impacting me today, and I can see that. That's got to be something that's going to push everyone's mind to be more energy conscious.
Like, basically, if you stick a solar panel on every single roof in the UK, how much electricity can we generate? It's not enough for the whole UK. I do know that. You know, if you want to come and look it up, it does actually have those numbers in here. But here's an example. If you put a solar panel on every roof in Australia, it would generate its entire annual requirement for electricity in just 2 days. Now, Australia burns some of the most polluting brown coal that is available on the planet.
This was a debating competition. We've had 3 debaters. Thank you so much for all of the effort that you put in and for your good spirits in taking part in what we're doing. And the results are...
So before the debate, we had nuclear with 25 people, so it was in the clear lead. Fossil with no one, and intermittent renewals with 11. So nuclear was well in the lead. Afterwards, that swung, so intermittent renewables went up to 20. So that was the clear winner, with nuclear at 12 and fossil fuels at 4. So there has been a major swing in people's views after the debate.
Great. Thank you very much.